Later that night, in a nearby hotel, the costumed mystery woman slid into her personal bedroom rented for the weekend. The lights were out. Then, the lightning flashed, and she saw the shadow. Before she could gasp, a hand covered her mouth. Blue looked down on her. Her blue eyes were visible in even this dim light. "Listen to me very carefully. You've heard of who I am. I'm not going to hurt you, but I need answers." Blue reached out and clicked a very small lamp on. It illuminated them both, but heavily shrouded their features in shadow. "Everyone else in Adam's life was killed recently. It was all over the news. The question is, why are you still alive?" He let his hand go over her mouth. "Why? I never knew him," she answered as she backed away. "I've hacked every account he has and followed every lead. You've spoken before. You're the only one left, and he's still missing." Truth enough. He stepped forward. She cowered back. "Listen, I don't know anything. Please, don't tell anyone that I knew him, or that I'm here. I don't want to be killed too." He could see the terror in her eyes, the primal fear there, and the lack of answers she had, and the growing pain in his heart. He stood still. She looked back and saw her phone on the bed. "How did you know that was me behind the mask tonight?" she said, as she tried to nonchalantly approach her phone and pick it up hopefully without him noticing. "I mean, it's not exactly that revealing of my face," she said as she dialed 911 on it while turned away. Then she turned to face him. He was gone. Elsewhere on a nearby rooftop somewhere in the city, the wind howled. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Blue's favorite thinking spot. The gargoyle statues on the ledge of that one building. He swung up to the ledge and disengaged the grappling device. Her. The last person from his life that went untouched from the murders. Merely an old crush he was no longer interested in. But it was his very last contact to his past. He stared off into the distance. Tears threatened to form from all the death. He sat down. He loved this spot. Not even Kathy knew where to find him here. Not even Night Shadow, perhaps. He stared off into the night, the clouds and the flashing between them in the distance. A drop or two hit loudly nearby. Blue didn't budge. He yanked his mask off and covered his face with one hand as he leaned back, breathing in heavily. The rain picked up. A long while passed, seemingly forever to him. I have to tell her. I have to tell her. He eventually stood and marched to the edge, replaced his mask, grappled again, and left. Kathy strode into one of the studies of the massive lair. "Hey, Adam?" A shadow leapt over a rooftop somewhere in the city. A couple of men sloshed through the rain, hunkered low, shifting their heads, carrying cases. Adam? Kathy looked about in the room, confused at first. "Stop right there." The men froze and looked up in surprise. Lightning split the sky, revealing Blue in the shadow of the building. Then another voice penetrated the darkness. "Gotcha!" Blue, surprised, spun, only to catch Knuckles in his face. "That's weird." Kathy walked back toward the other end of the lair. Loud thunder penetrated even this deep underground. She pressed a button on the wall for the comm. Blue blocked the wide punch from Mayhem, but took his forehead to his own. "Hey, Night Shadow, have you seen Adam?" "I haven't. Why?" Kathy looked to the floor and thought. Lightning flashed outside. Blue took a jab, then another, then a right cross. He slammed into the air conditioning box, denting its metal covering heavily. Rain poured down on the silhouette slowly walking toward him. He stood, the blood spilling from the corner of his mouth, teeth gritted. He leapt back into the fight with a yell. He doesn't seem to be here.
But where could he?
Shadow suddenly stood from his chair, realizing.
The jewels.
What?
Kathy, meet me at the computer.
Blue sent his fist into Mayhem's gut. Mayhem stumbled backward, trying to get his breath back. Suddenly, a sack of heavy jewels and gold slammed into the back of Blue's head. Blue cried out and stumbled forward. He spun only to receive a punch from one of the thugs. Night Shadow sprinted down the stairs to find a somewhat confused Kathy at the computer.
I think I know where Adam is. There was supposed to be a jewel heist tonight.
Jewelry glittered across the ground as lightning casted fighting shadows across it. He dodged the next and locked the man's arm, then dislocated the elbow. The thug cried out in agony, as did Blue when the other sack suddenly slammed into his kidneys. What's the big deal? It's just a heist. Adam can handle that.
Adam suspected it was one of Mayhem's.
So... Shadow Knight furiously typed away at the PC.
So it could be a trap.
A reactionary elbow smashed the other thug's nose. A foot smashed the thug's knee as he stumbled backward, holding his nose. But another cry filled the night suddenly, as a shin planted itself into Blue's obliques, then a fist into his cheek. He stumbled away from the thug he held, as the man attempted to replace his elbow. Blue looked up and blocked an incoming jab. Then he threw a kick, but it was grabbed and spun, and his body with it, to prevent the damage it would have done to his knees. Water slung everywhere.
Here!
Night Shadow pointed at the screen.
Get to the car! Hurry!
They sprinted down the hall. Blue's chin pointed skyward from an uppercut, and he staggered backward again. The world was a haze. He threw his heel into Mayhem's gut, then another into his face. Another man leapt at him, and he grabbed the thug and rolled backwards, throwing the man with his own weight and momentum. The man flew and slammed against the side of the building and hung on for dear life. Blue pulled Mayhem up by his collar and slammed his elbow into his head from the side. A brick impacted Blue's head. If it weren't for the metal plate underneath, he would have been out of it, but now merely very dizzy. Suddenly, Mayhem ran, head low, tackling him. The old car blasted around the corner, splashing a wave of water. Shadow and Kathy both stared grimly into the pouring night. One thug helped the other up onto the building again, and they sprinted away, leaping the small gaps between the buildings. Blue, against a wall, hit Mayhem in the face, then in the ribs until he let go, and tore himself away, sprinting after the thugs. The silhouettes leapt from the rooftops. Lightning crackled across the sky again, but the sound wasn't just thunder. Blue recognized the gunshot after it hit him. Bam! A round hit his Kevlar chest plate, knocking him half spinning. He grimaced in pain and ducked to another air-conditioning vent. He looked at the armor, dented heavily, and felt the pain in his chest, the muscle and ribs surely bruising underneath. He grimaced as he grabbed at his chest, then looked around the corner again, then back. Bam! He fell from cover. They had already circled around as he caught his breath. He crawled on all fours through the rain. A foot hit his ribs. Then again, he rolled upright as soon as he got room. He blocked a metal pole. If it weren't for his forearm armor, he'd probably have a broken arm. He blocked it lower, then higher. Then Mayhem rushed him again. But as he did, Blue suddenly felt the butt of a gun impact his upper back. The two crime fighters, one older and the other younger, stopped in front of the jewelry store. Shadow looked up at the rooftops. Nothing. He peeled out, driving on.
Keep an eye on the rooftops. Look for anything.
Kathy strained in the night and the rain to see anything. Blackness threatened to overwhelm Blue. He fell back against the glass skylight. It busted underneath him. Mayhem threw a right cross, then grabbed Blue by the chest armor and pulled him back up and hit him again. Blue landed hard against the glass. Then Mayhem pulled him back up, then hit him again, then pulled him back up and hit him again. Each time his body hit the glass, it cracked a little more. Blood and spit mixed, splattered across the broken glass. Mayhem hit him once more, forcing Blue out of his own hand. The glass finally gave, and Blue fell into darkness. The car stopped.
Kathy, Get out. Climb up to the top of the jewelry store building and see if you can find them. I'll track them down here.
Okay. She grabbed her gear from the back seat and ran out into the rain to the fire escape. Blue coughed and tried to turn over, groaning in the process. He grabbed a rail and pulled himself up on the catwalk. It suddenly shook violently. Mayhem. A kick sent Blue staggering backward, grasping the rails for support. He stopped himself and blocked the next punch, and then sent one of his own into the man's temple. Mayhem grunted, and sent a knee into Blue's diaphragm. The two thugs also dropped. The catwalk gave away on their end. Everyone fell. Glass broke when they landed. Blue sent a wooden chair flying across the thug's back, then backhanded the other, rushing him. Then he clasped one hand over the other fist and sent them down into the evil man's spine. Mayhem again. A red-gloved fist hit Blue's jaw. He slammed into instrument panels. Lights began to come on. Chemicals surrounded them. A chemical factory. Some lamps also came on in the small lab they were in. A vial flew at Blue's face. He blocked with his hands, but the fluid splashed all over him. He rushed Mayhem. The two of them flew through a window into another lab. The table they landed on broke under their weight. They rolled. Blue on bottom. An elbow hit his face, then a fist, then two fists at once. Blue hung on to consciousness as he blocked death with his arms. The hit stopped, but he could barely see, let alone think. He felt the weight come off him. At first, she thought she was going in the wrong direction, but then she saw the sparkle in the puddling water, a piece of jewelry. She stopped to pick it up, then stood, looking about in the pouring rain. A brick lay nearby. Suddenly, two strong hands grabbed Blue and slammed him onto a table.
Let's see exactly what my chemical factory is making nowadays without Ulfric. Huh? I'm sure it's not safe. I've given free rein to some of these boys to make chemical weapons for use against the police when we really start our crime waves. But then, you already knew that when you stole my suit.
He held up a vial of some liquid impossible to read in the dark, then turned and smiled a half-smile. Blue could only stare and struggle, completely exhausted. Mayhem strode over.
Hold him.
Blue pulled and moved and shifted. Nothing. The thugs had him. And suddenly, the fluid poured onto his face. He spat and sputtered and turned his head.
Do you like that? Huh? Blue Shadow? Huh?
Choke, gasp, sputter.
Well, let's have some more. Looks like this crap wasn't finished quite yet.
He grabbed some more vials and came over and started dumping them one by one all over Blue's face and mouth.
Gotta wash that blood off.
He squeezed Blue's jaw to force his mouth open. Kathy ran to the edge of the building, and nothing. No sign at all. She looked around in dismay. The rain. It was washing away everything. All traces.
Find anything yet, Kathy?
She heard in her earpiece.
No,
she said with some dismay.
Don't you have a tracker on him or something? You helped make his latest suit, right?
I did, but he took to finding and deactivating it every time he went out after the incident.
Why would he do that?
Adam knew these thugs were connected to Mayhem, and he might not have wanted us to be in danger. If we can track him, in theory, they can hack it and also track him too.
Then she saw a glint in the night as lightning hit the roof. Another fallen piece of loot on the neighboring building.
Now, let's see what you look like under that mask.
Mayhem walked over and grabbed the mask and yanked upward. Blue tried to fight back, but his weak hands were swatted aside. The mask pulled off with some difficulty. Mayhem stared at Adam's beaten face.
Who the heck is he?
A thug asked as he barely managed to stand. Blue could only breathe as his head swam, eyes threatening to roll back.
Psh, idiot boy. Idealist, probably. Well, this is what you get for believing in something. Oh, by the way, have you even figured it out yet? What I'm doing?
Blue could only blankly stare back, threatening to fall out of consciousness.
I have built a magnificent machine. You know that fusion furnace they made not too long ago that the government decided not to build? Well, I just built a bigger, better version of it, and combined with some various radioactive waste disposal and control over all of the neighboring city's dumps and some other minor contracts.
He grabbed Blue by the shoulder armor and shoved to emphasize each point.
I now have income from 3 major cities, and even the United States government. People will always need garbage disposal, and will always need power. I am supplying the whole seaboard with both, and solving the nuclear waste disposal problem, and keeping garbage from the oceans all in one. And with my control in parts of the underworld, I can almost rule this entire city.
He pulled Blue close.
I'll be the richest man on Earth, and all the greenies will love me, and there's nothing you and that little witch can do, except maybe get shot.
He yanked Adam out of the thug's grip and slung him onto a table covered in chemical compounds. He slid off the other side.
But see, when the police find you, a break-in thief, in my place robbed.
The bruised and bleeding thug suddenly burst open a small safe and dumped the cash everywhere.
I'm going to blame you, and in doing so, draw that master of yours, Night Shadow, you no doubt are the pupil of, out of hiding, and frame him for the explosion of a certain reactor. And at last, all you stupid heroes and your city of origin will be destroyed, and I will go on to another city and build it bigger and better, becoming richer and richer.
Then the crimson-clad man grabbed a nearby cabinet loaded with all sorts of chemicals and turned it over on top of Blue. Then another from the other side. The powerful fumes filled the room. Mayhem started walking out of the lab, straightening his mask along the way.
We gonna kill him, boss?
Mayhem stopped.
Kill him? He's already dead.
He waved to the shattered chemical vials all around and continued walking. The thugs took a last look at Blue's limp body, shrugged, and followed their boss out. A car door slammed, and Kathy ran to the edge of the building to look down and see a familiar car speed away.